Grab a plastic bin from Walmart for this project. I'm going to start by drilling a few holes into the side of the bin. This is going to be for handles down the road. Then I'm going to flip the bin over and I'm going to drill 4 holes, one in each corner of the plastic bin. I want to dress this bin up, so I picked up some gray and white patterned fabric. And I've cut it down to size so that it is the right height of the bin. Now I'm going to use some spray adhesive to adhere the fabric to the plastic. When I get to the corners, I am going to cut up the side, and then I can just fold these 2 pieces over each other, creating a really nice looking seam. To add the handles, I'm going to locate the hole that I drilled with my finger and then just poke through the fabric with a pair of scissors. Now I can thread the jute through and tie a knot on the inside to secure it in place. Now I'm going to add some feet to the bottom to raise this up off the ground and just make it look a little nicer. And there you have it. I have a really nice looking bin that I can keep out in the open. It looks so much better than your basic plastic bin, and I can store all kinds of stuff in here. Let's create an anthropology dupe. So I'm going to grab a couple different styles of this pretty paper and I'm going to cut it into 4-inch squares. Now I'm going to paint a thin coat of Mod Podge onto a white ceramic tile. Now I'm going to press these 2 together, seal them in really good, get any bubbles out. Now I'm going to come back and add a top coat of Mod Podge. I'm going to repeat this with about 35 tiles. I cut a piece of plywood to size and I'm going to paint the top using a white chalk paint. Now I'm going to place a full-length mirror right in the middle. Now to attach the mirror to the wood, I'm using Gorilla Glue. Once I've got the mirror down, I'm adding this board and some weight, and I'm going to let this set for 24 hours. Now I'm going to dry fit the tiles into a pattern around the mirror. For the corners, where I have a little bit of a smaller space, I'm actually just going to use a square of paper. So the first thing I'm doing is adding a little bit of water to the wood with a paintbrush. Now for the tiles, I'm using Gorilla Glue again, and then the 2 are pressed together. And I'm going to let the whole thing set for 24 hours. Now I have a stunning full-length tile mirror that looks like something from Anthropology.
Let's run on down to Walmart, and it's time to grab your favorite inexpensive bucket. We got to get those handles off. Next, we're going to take that bucket and flip it over. We need to set in 2 strips of wood that are going to fit right on the edge. Next, stick them on there. Make sure they fit. Then you can use some hot glue. Just flip it over and press it against the plastic. So do that to both pieces right on the edge and just hold it down till it sets. Next, flip the bucket over, and what you're going to do is grab just some small little screws. So just take your drill and put it right in. 2 or 3 in each strip of wood will be just right, and that's going to hold it in place. Now it's time to put on the wheels, and we're going to mark it 1 inch from each side of the wood. We're going to put 4 of these legs on and we're going to drill it. Now it's time to take that hot glue, put it right on the edge of the hole there and put the leg on. Look at this. They are excellent. Now it's time to go ahead and decorate the bucket. Just take again our favorite hot glue, put it right on the edge, just stick it right on there. Just go ahead and set it all the way around and we're going to go around the whole bucket. Once you get that on, it's time to take a little bit of your inexpensive fabric, cut about 12 inches wide. We're going to use that hot glue again, and we're going to fold over the edge. What we're going to do is fold it over the bucket. It's going to cover all that plastic. Get that glue right on that last bit of rope right there. We're going to take this all the way around the bucket, and look at this. This is going to be a great container. It turned out great. I hoped you loved this DIY rolling basket. Today's project starts with a few end tables that you can pick up from your local Walmart or IKEA, and they're simple to put together. Put a wheel on the bottom to make this table mobile. Get a nut that will fit on the end of those threads, and we've got to glue it to the bottom of the leg. But we want to make sure we add a washer to give it some strength, as we're going to use a 2-part epoxy. We're going to take the epoxy and put it around the edge of the bolt next to the washer, and on the bottom of our table, turn it on its side, and we've got to glue a piece of strip of wood on the bottom. Go ahead and just put some around the hole on the bottom of the leg, and we're going to take that little invention we did with the washer and the nut and stick it right on there. Make sure it gets nice and secure. That allows us now to screw the wheel into the bottom of the leg. Got to join these 2 tables together. Once you get it all on there on all 4 corners, go ahead and stick the other table right on top. Once it dries up in about 20 minutes, it's super strong and it's time to paint it. Went ahead and put these 3 boards in for the base, and they sit there really nice. It also gives some strength, but it's time to finish the top. I want to use some contact paper. Look at that beautiful DIY kitchen island. It just turned out great. And the best part about it is it can be wheeled around.
So I'm starting by cutting 2-inch strips of fabric. I'm going to fold a strip in half and just use an iron to create a seam so that they stay folded together. I'm going to use some quick dry fabric glue to attach this trim right over the existing blue trim. Once that dries, I'm going to flip this over and add glue to the backside as well. And I'm just going to push those metal hooks through the holes in the beach mat. Project was inspired by Hometalk creator So Bright Creations.
Grab some hot glue and put a bead of glue along one side of your lampshade, and then add some twine or jute. And we're going to wrap that around the lampshade until we cover the entire thing. After you have all your tassels made, we are going to add these to the bottom of our lampshade. And I decided to hot glue these. You could use a needle and thread and tie them and sew them on the edge, but this worked out perfect. You are going to simply trim off the excess tails. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is from a Walmart lampshade. Literally looks like I got it from Anthropologie.
I ran to my local Walmart and grabbed 2 matching pots, one bigger than the other. First thing I did was level an area in the front that would be in direct sunlight and put the bigger pot in first. Next, I grabbed an old bucket upside down into the bigger pot to make sure that it's centered. Next, I grabbed a flower pot base. I wanted to make sure that I turned it with the lip side down. We're going to take the smaller pot that we got and place it on the center of that pot. I want to grab some local rocks and place them around the edge. Next, I got out a new solar-powered fountain that I bought for $10. It floats in the water because it's got a float on the bottom, and it works great in direct sunlight. With this fountain comes some plastic spacers. What this does is make sure that the fountain stays in the center of the pot. Once you got it marked, you can go ahead and just trim it with a pair of scissors. Put some nice clear water inside. Go ahead and place the fountain inside. Once the direct sunlight hits it, voila, you've got a water fountain. The most amazing thing about this is it's solar powered, so you can place it anywhere in your yard that it gets direct sunlight.
Get a styrofoam cooler. I found mine at Walmart. Take a piece of cardboard, trace with a Sharpie, and cut with an X-Acto blade to make it slightly smaller than the lid of the cooler. Take a piece of upholstery foam and trace with a Sharpie and cut with an X-Acto blade. Hot glue the upholstery foam to the top of the lid with the cardboard on top of that. Take a blanket, rug, or textile of your choice and cut it to size to the top of the lid. Fold and hot glue to the lid and trim the excess. Use an old sheet, cut to size, and wrap around the cooler base. Hot glue all the way around the base of the cooler and trim off the excess. Cut the remainder of the blanket, fold over, and hot glue the edges to clean them up. Wrap the blanket pieces around the base with hot glue. Add tassels from the blanket around the top of the base of the cooler to give it a boho look. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own boho DIY storage ottoman for your home for less than $15.
I went to the store and grabbed some hula hoops along with black matte spray paint. I took the hoops out to my garden and decided to attach them to my house using small poultry staples. I then slipped a piece of pipe cleaner through the hole and attached the hoop, twisting the ends together. I used black electrical tape to join the hoops together. To attach the plant, I carefully moved each stem, bundling some together and following the curve of the hoop. I love the look of my new trellis, and it was so easy to make. And as the plant grows, I can simply add additional hoops.
I grabbed some china plates. I smashed the plates on a rock. I mixed ready-mix concrete with water. Put the first layer of concrete inside. Tamper it down. I placed the broken china on top. I wiped with this sponge, removed the cardboard around the outside, and placed it in the garden.
We've got our Harlequin stencil. We're gonna dip straight in, just making sure we don't have too much paint anywhere. See how perfect it comes up. Hook up your stencil to your existing pattern. Water lily stencil. All of our hot pink done to be in this beautiful greenish gray color with some of the filigree here. We'll lift up. Isn't this stepping stone beautiful?
We're gonna mix up cement as per instructions. The cement is ready to come out. It came out so easily. Let's get started painting. And next color will be red. I'm trying to put the paint inside the bubbles. I'm making a watermelon. And then I'm gonna make a couple of more other fruits.
Take a paper towel and spray it with cooking spray and rub it around your container or molds. Add pigment into your water and mix it. Let the powder fully dissolve. Take your powdered cement, slowly add water into your powder mixture. You want the consistency to be pancake batter-like. Scoop some into your mold and spread it around with your hand. Tap your container a few times, take a doily and center it. Pull the sides of your mold slowly to release the stepping stone. Flip the container upside down. It will slowly release. Pull up on one end and slowly start peeling it up. Bring it outside and line them up.
I came across these adorable plastic garden fences. I took some wire cutters and I cut apart the plastic, and I'm going to begin mixing up some plaster of Paris. I mix it very well, spreading some cooking oil on a piece of paper towel and rubbing it all on the inside of the plate. Then I poured in my plaster of Paris, and then I picked up the pie plate and shook it around. And next I took my butterfly pieces and I placed them in the middle of the plaster of Paris mixture. I continued doing this with different pieces of the plastic fence. Write out the word welcome in the plaster of Paris on one of them. Since the cooking oil was in there, they slid out perfectly, and I actually just filled in the lines. I took them out to my garden.
I'm going to lightly draw in a pattern on the tree charger. I'm going to spray down the top of the tree chargers, put some little blobs right there, and I'm going to paint the wood. I'm going to do a red stripe on the outside. Now I'm just going to go back over with some blue and just blend it, just to kind of outline the stones, just like this. Pour it over the surface, make sure you even it out. Craft resin is dry and I am so excited with how they've turned out.
I dumped the cement powder in, and then it was time to pour in the water. I stirred for about 5 minutes, ensuring that I got all the clumps. You're going to want your mixture to be as smooth as possible. And now it's time to grab your mold. You can use anything like a pizza baking dish that is disposable. Next, you're going to want to pick up your mold and slowly start tilting it from side to side to smooth the top as much as possible. Dry for a little while. I was able to add my mosaic tiles. I waited about 36 hours before removing from the mold. Came out super easily, even easier than I expected. To paint the backside, take the glow-in-the-dark paint. I used 2 coats. I think it looks so great. I love the colors. It all goes so well together. And here's a nighttime view of the other side of the tile with the glow-in-the-dark paint, which I think turned out really cool.
Okay, so first stage of this is for me to get this fence completely painted. I have got these melamine plastic plates I just picked up at the dollar store. I've also got a couple of these larger silver coloured plates. That's isopropyl alcohol. I've just cleaned the plate with that. I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol here. I'm just going to squirt it onto the plate. And then I've got these really lovely, I'm going to drop a little bit on here. I'm just going to move this around a bit to start with. Alcohol on there. There we go. Here we go. A little bit more of that. You can use a hairdryer or a heat gun. I'm just going to go around and around in circles and just see if we can get some nice kind of edges. Okay, now because this is alcohol ink, I'm actually going to seal it with this Kmart varnish. The second version that I'm going to do on these little plates is I'm actually going to use these stick and style stencils. This I've already coated with a second coat of paint. Okay, let's take this stencil off and see how it looks. Our third technique that we're going to create on these plates is going to be, we're going to go full Jackson Pollock. Next up, we're going to use this silver bullet, exactly the same. We can do that on one of our smaller plates. So let's see what it looks like now that I've hung them all up.
What you need is a stack of wood paint stirrers. It's all laid out. I'm going to go ahead and paint them a beautiful yellow color. Now that my paint sticks are all ready, it's time to start putting them together. To add some wood glue in between the joints. I love this new piece of beehive art. I can't wait to see what it looks like when the plants start growing.
So I've come back from the thrift store with a few items, and now I'm going to clean them up. For this first one, I'm going to be using Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint, and I've got a stencil brush here. Dip it into the paint, but then I'm going to offload a little bit of it here. So I'm going to go ahead and just going to continue around. I'm going to let them dry completely before the next step with these. For this next one, we're going to be using Pledge Floor Care Cleaner. Pour some of the Pledge Floor Cleaner into the glass base. Swirl the glass carefully so that it's all coated. I'm just gonna use some snowy glitter, and I'm gonna dump a healthy amount in here. Now we start swirling all the way around. I'm gonna let it dry completely. Next, I'm gonna use some green glitter. Same process. And I'm going to be using Folk Art enamel paint in the color Wicker White. For this last one, I'm going to leave them plain. So we're going to start with the cup, and I'm going to choose to have it go up and upside down. One is super glue, and put it on the edge all the way around. You place it on top. So I'm going to let this one dry, and we'll start adhering the other ones. I hope this inspires you to take some thrift store items and flip them for your home and yard.
While I was at a flea market, I spied these license plates and knew I could do something with them. I wanted to make a flower, so I laid the license plate on a piece of white paper and cut it to size. Then I folded the paper in half and cut out half of a petal for my pattern and laid it on the back of the license plate and traced around it with a Sharpie. Using a tin snip, I cut it out. I turned up the edges with a plier. I also used a small paint can and rolled the plate along the can's edge to bend it. The center of the flower, I cut a plate in half, and then I cut out a circle. I made cuts into the center of the circle and bent the cuts upward. I drilled a hole in the center of the centerpiece and then drilled holes in the ends of each of the petals. I placed a bolt through each of the holes, and then using an electrical box cover, I drilled a hole in the center of that and one hole on each side of the center hole. I placed the bolt through the center hole and secured everything together with a nut. I threaded a cable tie through the two side holes in the box cover and then placed the plant stake around the bolt and secured it with the cable tie. I do love how it turned out, and I was proud of myself for figuring out how to attach the pieces together without using a soldering tool.
I found this piece of dryer venting at the reuse store. I'm going to start by slicing it down the middle. I'm going to go ahead and cut off a section. With this end cut off, I want to flatten it out. I want to turn them into wings. I'm going to make two different sizes. I'm going to lightly brush on some blue paint to the ends, some sage green to the middles, and then some cream paint to the tips. I'm going to do both sides of the spindle. I'm going to add some sage green. I'm going to cover the entire spindle now with this pearl glaze. I'm just going to use some small nails and a hammer to hold all four wings in place. The final thing I need to do is attach a small head. I love how fun this giant dragonfly is. It adds such a colorful touch to the fence and was so easy to make. I scoured Amazon for the perfect shower curtain. I want to make sure I leave enough hanging over. I'm going to give the table a quick coat of paint and sew them all the way around. Thread a piece of twine through the pocket I created. It's time to put the new cover on the table. I'm absolutely loving this custom tablecloth.
Start by sanding your table. Begin painting. Grab some sandpaper and sand to distress. Roughly cut the fabric to size. Grab some hard coat Mod Podge. Apply your fabric to the top of the table, trimming it. Add your Mod Podge on top. Repeat this process on any other part of the table, and now it's a fun, whimsical focal point to my space.
You're gonna need 4 of these canvases. And we're gonna turn them upside down, run a line of glue, then we're just gonna push these two together here, put a staple across the gap to take off the clamps, gently flip this over, and I'm just gonna add a few staples, place it over the canvas, and just cut straight up. Okay, now we're ready to attach it and put in a staple. We have this beautiful piece of art.
I found this fun shower curtain. I'm going to start by painting the table. Use a utility knife and run it along the edge. I want to seal the paint to protect it. Put a layer of Mod Podge all over the glass, and now I'm going to lay the shower curtain onto it. I want to trim off the excess, add one more layer of Mod Podge over the top for added protection. This little table is so cute now, perfect for sunny days on the balcony.
You're going to start with a pillow insert, get a shower curtain. So I'm gonna make mine 15 inches. For the back side of the pillow, we're gonna create a pocket. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this fold in half. I'm gonna fold it about 1/2 inch. You're just looking to create like a really clean edge. You can use glue instead. So that side is finished. You want the presentation sides to be facing each other. And then the other part where we stitched, they're gonna basically overlap. Wrap it around a couple times, hold at the base, flip it right side out, and I'm gonna wrap around the back. I'm gonna attach it to this double side seam that we created, wrap it around the buttons, and you have a new waterproof pillow to put outside.
Clear your space and hang up a shower curtain. Set up your equipment, add some lounge chairs, and when it gets dark, enjoy a snack while watching a movie. I cut 4 rectangles of fabric. I hot glued the edges and folded underneath to create a seam. I set them on my table, and the great thing is they're waterproof. I hung 2 command hooks up on each corner using 2 tension rods. I placed 1 curtain on each of them. I placed the tension rods onto the hooks, and we had curtains. I found a shower curtain at a thrift store. I placed my pillow on top of the shower curtain. I hot glued 3 of the 4 sides together. I measured adhesive hook and loop fasteners on the last opening. Now I can open and close the pillowcase to take it off and clean it when it needs it. I cut out both pockets, and these will become pen and pencil holders. I cut off the bottom of the 2 legs. I hot glued the pocket on 3 sides. You could add colored pencils and an art pad. If you're using the insert, I placed it on my shower curtain and cut around it. I placed the shower curtain section inside my frame. I hung it up as wall art, and it doubles as a message board.
grabbed a corrugated cardboard box and a tin can from my recycling for this elegant home decor. I cut the cardboard about a 1/4 inch taller than the tin can. I wet a tea towel and pressed it onto the top of the cardboard to make it damp, not wet. This helped to loosen it so I could pull the top layer off and expose the corrugated part. Then I flipped it over and painted the top 1/2 inch and top edge antique white using acrylic paint. I flipped it back and painted the whole corrugated surface in antique white, and then I started blending with the other colors. I used a sponge to add black, gray, and I spray painted some silver for a metallic touch. I added more antique white on top and blended it all together using my paintbrush. Once dried, I wrapped it around the tin can, hot glued it together, and now I have a knockoff galvanized zinc vase, and you'd never know it came from the recycling bin.
We're starting with a toilet paper roll, and we are going to cut it down to about half this size. So I'm going to be taking an X-Acto blade. I essentially want to create like a flat piece, and I'm going to go around the inside. I want it to kind of fall here. And so I'm just going to continue to add glue around the surface. So I'm going to take a big heap of this and we're going to just start layering it on. So we're going to do essentially the same thing, but I'm going to start by over the exposed base of the toilet paper roll. So I let this dry for about 24 hours. I have a sanding block. All right, now that we've sanded this down, we're gonna wipe it off. Here is the finished product of this high-end modern donut vase dupe, and I really love how it turned out.
So I'm going to start this project with a empty marinara jar. I'm bringing out Mod Podge, and I'm taking food coloring and putting the food coloring into the Mod Podge. I'm essentially mixing it all together to turn it into kind of a murky brownish green color. I'm getting out a cookie sheet and some newspaper, pouring the mixture, the Mod Podge mixture, into the jar, and I'm spinning the jar to try and get as much coverage on the interior of the jar as I can. I'm going to set my jar upside down, allow it to kind of dry and kind of let the excess drain out. The jars sit for about an hour. We're going to take all of our bottles and we're going to make sure that they're top side up, and we're going to bake these at 225 for about 45 minutes to 65 minutes. And as you can see, each of them kind of has a different tint, so you can really play around with the colors when you're mixing up your Mod Podge. It's beginner friendly, faux vintage decor on a budget.
We're going to need 5 soda cans. Make sure they are rinsed out and dry on the inside. Now we're going to go and take a razor blade, go and cut the top of the can. You can go and take a pair of scissors and then go and cut off the top of this can. And then go and cut off the bottom. Now go and clean any of this residue that might be in any of the cans. Now we're going to go and cover all of these with just some sort of cloth, and we're just going to apply a small amount of heat to it to go and flatten it out just slightly. Now let's go and draw some leaves and cut them out. Let's go and mark it down the center with a metal tool that we have. Let's go and cut some floral wire. Now let's take our glue and then go and stick down the wire onto this piece. Now let's go and continue to glue down these pieces. Now you can go and spray paint it, and after that green base is done, I'm going over everything with a black that is very light. So after this side is dry, now onto the other side, use green spray paint first, a small amount of yellow, and then at the edges of every one of these, use a very light amount of black spray paint. And these look so cool after they've dried. Now I'm taking the larger leaves that I have, putting them at the top here, and I'm kind of just going down from there and continuing to go and attach all of these leaves. We're going to go and take the wire and twist it around. Now go and fill up your metal tin or your planter, take the wooden dowel, go and bury it into the dirt that you have here. Just go and space it slightly. Now this is what it looks like after it is done, and it honestly looks pretty real. You wouldn't even believe that this was made with aluminum cans.
I dug this alcohol bottle out of my recycling bin. I'm going to remove the label from the bottle, and I'm going to use some alcohol. I'm going to get rid of the sticky residue that's left over. This is just an old picture, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to fit in the exact same spot where the label was. Take some matte Mod Podge. I'm going to brush it onto the back side of the alcohol bottle. Just going to place my picture face down, and then I'm going to take a scraper and I'm going to smooth down the picture, removing any air bubbles. I let that set for a good 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm going to come in with some just plain white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint my entire back side. And then for the front side, I want to make sure I leave a little window here so we can see the picture in the back, and then continue painting around the entire bottle, leaving the window open. painting. I let this chalk paint dry overnight. I'm going to go ahead with some transfers here from Dixie Belle, and I'm going to transfer some nice orchid designs here onto my bottle. I just placed a nice taper candle in the top for a nice candle holder. I just love this idea. There's so many possibilities. So I took these drinking bottles. I used some pages from a book that got wrecked, and I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge them on. And then I'm going to paint around the pitcher. I'm going to cover it in black wax just to tone down the white paint a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do some gold leafing just around the edges of the bottle, put my taper candles in, and I am in love with this project. I took this fleecy fabric softener plastic container, and then using an X-Acto knife, I just cut off the top portion. Next, I'm going to take some craft paper. I'm scrunching it up to create like a really rough texture, and then I'm going to tape it on where I need tape to hold in place and just cut out my handle, and then wrapping that again in masking tape. When I'm done with this, I'm going to create my paper mache, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip the envelopes up into tiny little pieces. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of water before I turn on my blender. So I lay out the Mod Podge, and then I just grab a handful of the slurry and I just spread it around onto my plastic container. I let it set for a full day, and this is my finished vase here.
First, we're going to repurpose a 1-gallon glass pickle jar, and then we have some decorative nautical rope. I'm measuring out vertical strips. Now, once I get all of my strips cut, I'm going to start using my glue gun to attach them on the side of the jar. And all I'm doing is I'm evenly spacing these out, and then I'll go in the middle of those sections and put a piece of rope, and then I'll do that, continue on until all 8. And I'm just going to start somewhere and kind of glue in a few places as I'm wrapping around, and then I'll glue the other 2, and it ended up being a stack of 3 just to give it a finished look. It would look good staged and styled for many different seasons.
Run to the dollar store and go and grab a glass bottle. We are going to start off this craft with a cleaned out plastic bottle. So now we're going to line this up with the bottle. Go and draw a circle for where this is going to go and fit. Go and cut it out, put your glass into the hole. Now we're going to go and paint our bottle. Let it dry. Let's go and get these fake pearls and start to string them with some pipe cleaner, but leave one end unbended. We're going to go and poke some holes into our plastic bottle. Take the pipe cleaner, stick it in there, take the other pieces, go and stick them in as well, hot glue where it meets with the pipe cleaner and also the bottle. Got some fairy lights, and we're going to go and stick them into where we have the center hole. Now let's take this base here, stick it in place. I am using cotton for this. Now let's go and glue these down. Use your fingers to go and poof it out. Go and use a fork to really go and poof it out even more. This cloud lamp is sure to light up any room, is so much fun to go and make, and is upcycled.
Take an X-Acto knife and remove the lid flaps. Take hemp rope and a hot glue gun to begin wrapping the rope around the box. Take twine and begin gluing it to the perimeter of the bottom of the box. Take balsa wood oval or circle shapes and paint them with black paint. Print words to be displayed on the side of the box. Cut them out and use pencil to cover the back of the paper. Then trace the font on the balsa wood. Use a chalkboard pen or a white paint pen to cover the pencil traced font. Use a hot glue gun to attach the labels to the side of the box. There you have it, an inexpensive way to create your own pantry storage for your home for less than $10. Take 16-inch wood skewers. Start by gluing wood skewers around the inner circumference of one craft hoop. Remove every other skewer to allow for even spacing and add a second hoop to the center of the skewers. Gather all the pointy ends of the skewers and fit them into a 3-inch macrame ring and hot glue in place to secure. Take twine, lace, and ribbon and add it to mask any seams or imperfections from hot gluing. Take a plug-in light fixture kit and thread it through the center of the top of the macrame loop. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy modern DIY pendant light for your home for less than $20.
Before painting, I cleaned the chandelier from top to bottom. I turned off the electricity from the electrical panel in the garage, and I stood on a very sturdy ladder to gently apply the paint. Next, I placed the globes in the sink to wash them. I taped off the top and the inside of the globe. I lightly applied a semi-gloss paint to the outside of the globes. I then buffed away the residue left behind by the spray paint. I placed the globe on a sheet of paper. I drew a circle. I then cut away the edges of the paper. I folded my circle in half twice, and then I folded it into thirds, 3 equal parts. I placed the globe back onto the circle, and using those fold lines as a guide, I placed marks on the globe. I used those markings to indicate where I would draw vertical lines. I lightly drew all of the horizontal lines, and then I began to lightly apply the paint as a primer coat. Applied several other coats thereafter. I lightly applied the Mod Podge sealer. It dries in minutes. I hope this project inspires you to add a little whimsy to an old chandelier.
Run to Dollar Tree and pick up one large plastic bowl. Use a palette knife and drywall spackle to apply to the exterior of the bowl. Create a hole in the bottom of the bowl in the size of a light socket. Finish spackling around the hole. Add Dixie Belle's Slick and Stick to the inside of the bowl with a paintbrush. Take Modern Masters metallic gold paint, at least 2 layers. Sand the surface of the spackled exterior. Take Rub and Buff and buff into the surface of the bowl interior. Take a hanging light kit from Amazon, add a light bulb of choice, hang in place, and plug in. Create your own modern pendant light for less than $15.
These cute containers came from the Dollar Tree. To attach the pink to the purple, I'm gonna go ahead and place the adhesive about right in there. Slide together. Very firm hold. Pop it right in the middle there. I've got a large adhesive strip and I'm just going to put it on the back side of my sconces, and then I'm going to attach it to the wall. I think it turned out super cute and not too bad for only $15.
Grab some hot glue and put a bead of glue along one side of your lampshade, and then add some twine or jute. And we're going to wrap that around the lampshade until we cover the entire thing. After you have all your tassels made, we are going to add these to the bottom of our lampshade. And I decided to hot glue these. You could use a needle and thread and tie them and sew them on the edge, but this worked out perfect. You are going to simply trim off the excess tails. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is from a Walmart lampshade. Literally looks like I got it from Anthropologie.
I bought a set of bamboo plates, these LED bulb lights. I'm using 2 different types of spray paint, and then I'm going to go over the top with a little bit of gold, unscrew this piece, and turn the light on. I'm going to use some double-sided adhesive mounting strips. Then I'm just gonna stick the light bulb to the center of the plate. Picture hanging strips. So I'm just gonna apply one big one to the back and hang it up on my wall. That's it. This was a really easy project to make these gorgeous light fixtures.
I found this basket for a few dollars, so I'm going to use this round drill bit to add the lamp. I just need to thread the cord through the hole. Now that I have my pieces cut, I need to join the 2 together and use a piece of fusing tape and then hold my hot iron on it, and I can slip the cord right through the middle. I love how pretty this basket looks as a lamp and how easy it was to cover the dark cord.
Go ahead and grab yourself a tomato cage, and also grab some wood shims. Grab a scrap board, take the thick end. We're going to get a nice clean hole, and we're going to do this to all of our shims. What we're going to do is take a towel and just dip it in there, make sure it's all covered. Just wipe it on there. The sticky points that go into the ground, we don't need those. It's just going to snap right off. Now we're going to grab us some copper wire. We're going to put that through the shim with the hole in it. Just use it like a twist tie. Go all the way around. Once you get the second layer done, we're going to grab us a solar light from Dollar Tree. Take off that small part on the bottom, the stake. We don't need that. And let it float right in the middle. Now we're going to work on that last circle. And when the night starts to fall, Watch this. That thing is going to light up, and you don't even have to turn it on or off. It works its magic automatically and recharges during the day.
Set an edge of your lampshade against one edge of the wallpaper. Measure in 1/2 inch to 1 inch and mark it by running a pencil where the shade meets the paper. Spray the outside of the lampshade with spray adhesive. Roll the lampshade onto the wallpaper, pressing and smoothing as you go. Apply double-sided tape to the inside lip of the top and bottom of the lampshade. Wrap the overage border of the wallpaper over the edge of the shade and press onto the double stick tape. Take some more tape and apply it to the top and bottom of the lampshade. Take some ribbon in a coordinating color and press half of the width onto the double stick tape and secure on the inside of the shade. Do this for the top and bottom of the shade. Continue the lamp makeover by spray painting the base of your lamp. I hope this inspired you to give a tired and worn out lampshade a stylish makeover.
We are going to start with 7 of these bowls. You're also going to need some E6000. Just basically go around. You're going to place it on top. We're going to do this again. So I'm going to give these a little bit of time to cure. I'm going to be taking my E6000 and I'm going to go around the top of this, stack it on top, and we're going to do this one more time. I'm using Dixie Belle Vintage Duck Egg Chalk Paint. So I'm actually going to use E6000 for this step. Line it up, and then we're going to let that sit until it dries. And we are going to trace around the inside of the hole that I created. You actually will not need to paint the underside, just the sides and the top. I'm going to start with the bottom part, tilt that up. So we are going to take a solar light, placing it over, put the top part of our solar light, and it's going to nestle right in. Here is my finished DIY cordless solar lamp for my outdoor patio.
So to get started, I am going to take apart the lamp and I'm just going to put some alcohol on the paper towel and wipe down my lamp base. I'm just giving a little light base coat to this. And then I have some all-in-one pre-mix stucco patch. And I'm just using an old chip brush and I'm just going to coat the entire thing. While that's drying, I'm going to take that really kind of dingy old looking lampshade. I'm using some white chalk paint. That's water that you saw me mist on there. And it just makes the paint kind of flow and cover nicely. I'm gonna let that dry. Then I'm actually gonna do a second coat. I have a medium gray paint here and I've also added a little water to it. I'm just gonna take a regular paintbrush. So I'm just gonna work on getting this whole lamp base covered in this. While that gray is still wet, I'm grabbing some mud by Dixie Belle. I put a glove on to put this part on. It's a lot like spackle. Let that dry for about an hour and then grab a sanding block and get that all sanded smooth down. And then for even more dimension, I have white chalk paint and then a lighter gray little sea sponge here that I'm just getting kind of damp. And I've also misted my paint plate. Now I'm just going to kind of dab around and keep working on this faux finish. And then after I do all that, now I have black and brown paint. Okay, so I'm watering down that paint a little bit and a push pin. I'm using the tip, the little pin, to add some little dot. Lastly, just to seal in all this, I used a matte clear spray. And I am really happy with how this came out. It was really fun to do too.
Here are 5 inexpensive mom hacks that you need to try. Pick up a big cereal container with a flip top lid. Put a plastic bag inside and you have a portable trash can for your car. Grab a cupcake liner, cut a slit in the bottom and slip it over the bottom of a popsicle. This is going to catch any drips. Grab a caddy like this from Dollar Tree, fill it up with your kids' favorite snacks and put it in the back seat. Has a place to keep everything so it doesn't get all over your car and it's really easy for kids to grab a snack. Create busy bags for a road trip. Grab these inexpensive pencil pouches and fill them up with different activities. You can curate this for whatever age your kids are. Pop each pencil pouch into a Dollar Tree binder and you can take this wherever you go. Do you have card games laying around? Gather up the cards and stick them in a travel soap container. This is going to store each game nice and neatly and you can take it on the go or put it in your game closet.
Grab a towel bar and a hanging shoe rack from Dollar Tree. Put it on the seat in your car for easy access to road trip essentials.
Pour some rubbing alcohol into a baggie that seals and place in your freezer. Alcohol freezes at a much colder temperature than water, and this allows your ice pack to get cold but remain flexible. When ready to use, pull it out, put the baggie on a cloth to protect the skin, and place on the injury. When you're finished, put it back in the freezer to be used again. Clean and disinfect phones and tablets. Put a little rubbing alcohol onto a microfiber cloth and rub onto the glass of your phone or tablet to clean and disinfect it. Place rubbing alcohol into a spray bottle. Spray it inside shoes to fight off odors and disinfect them. Make sure your computer is off. Dip a Q-tip in rubbing alcohol and rub onto your keys to clean them. Grass, mud, and dirt stains. Place some Dawn dish soap on those tough stains. Spread around to coat the whole stain and let it sit for 10 minutes or more. Lightly scrub the stain to get the Dawn into the fabric. Launder and your stains will be gone. Place some regular toothpaste on a microfiber cloth and buff the crayon away from doors, tables, and walls. Wipe off the toothpaste with a damp cloth.
To fold a t-shirt, start by laying it on a flat surface with the front side facing down. Fold in each side of the shirt and then fold the arms back. Once you have a rectangle created, you are going to fold this shirt in half, leaving a couple inches on the bottom. Then you're going to fold it in half again. And now you have a nice file here that's going to stand up in your drawer. Fold up the bottom of a shirt about a third of the way, then turn the whole thing over. Fold each side of the shirt in, then fold the top down and fold the whole thing in half. Now you're able to turn this little pouch all the way around and tuck the shirt inside of it. Lining your shirts up like this allows you to see everything that you have. It's nice and neat and it's easy to pull out what you need. Let's fold a hoodie. Fold the bottom up about a third of the way and then fold it up again. Take the two sleeves and fold them in and then fold in the sides. Take this whole piece and tuck it into the hood. Pull those strings tight and everything stays contained. This is a nice way to fold a bulky item. It's going to stay nice and secure in your drawer. This is also great for packing. Let's fold a collared shirt. Make sure all the buttons are fully buttoned. Then flip the shirt over. Fold in the sides and fold the arms back. You want to create a long rectangle. Now fold up the bottom about a third of the way and fold the top down about a third of the way. It's a great option for storing shirts if you do not have a hanging space. To fold a pair of pants, lay them face up and fold one leg on top of the other, creating one long rectangle. Fold the whole thing in half and then fold it in thirds. Using this method is going to allow your pants to stand up on their own.
Take your magic eraser and rub it on your white shoe soles. You can just damp it up, rub it on it, and it takes everything right off those white shoe soles and makes them just like new all over again.
Start with one produce bag and roll it in on itself. Continue to do the same with the 3 other produce bags. Secure the outer net to one of the metal clasps on the end of the netting. Now you have a DIY Scrub Daddy for tough dishes.
What do you do when you need a tiny bag? Well, you take a little cloth napkin and iron, put that on top of your bigger Ziploc bag, and that's going to seal it at the bottom. Then you can put your little carrots inside, and then you're going to just grab some scissors and then trim off the end, and you have a perfect little snack bag.
So the first thing we're going to do is place it upside down. I've got these cushions that tie, and you simply set them on top. Another option is to actually put your crate right side up and then place your board on top. So a number of ways that you can mix and match this. You can make things like this that store well.
Let's start with that mess of plastic bags. Lay it out flat, fold it in half, then in half again. Fold it up into triangles. I'm going to take the handles and tuck them into the little pocket of the triangle. Now that same amount of bags fits in that container. To fold a larger reusable bag, lay it out flat and fold it into thirds. Fold the bottom up, tuck the handles in. Now you're able to store these bags vertically. Lay out your kitchen towel, fold it in half again. Fold it into thirds, right into the pocket you created. It's not going to become unfolded. Fold a bag of chips, bringing each corner together on a diagonal. Flip the bag around and fold it down 3 or 4 times. Fold over the corners. It's not gonna leak. Start by tucking in the 2 side pieces. Squeeze the sides together and tuck that final piece, making it line up really nicely in your pantry.
So you're going to grab a little Tupperware, put the lid on. You're going to shake it up just enough that it's hitting the sides. Look, it totally slid off because it's been loosened by going back and forth against the sides of your Tupperware.
Take 1 to 2 old washcloths, lay them flat, trace the border of the circles 4 times. Cut out each shape individually. Take a microfiber towel and do the same thing. Take 2 of the washcloth circles and put them right side in and secure right side in to each other. Leave an opening that is about 3 fingers wide. Flip the right side out and then add fabric cut for the interior into this dish pad. Hand sew the rest of the pad closed. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own DIY dish cleaning items using upcycled materials.
You have a knife and it's dull and you don't have a sharpening stone. What do? You can grab a ceramic cup, flip it over, and you can sharpen sharpen it right there, and you have a totally sharp knife. You're gonna grab some saran wrap and roll it out on your table, and then grab 4 skewers, and then you're gonna grab 2 eggs and butt them up against each other and start rolling the eggs towards the skewers. And the goal is to get the skewers to be evenly spaced all the way around. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab something to tie it off. Pull those tight. So then you're going to put this in the fridge for about 15 minutes, and then you're going to take off your little binding that you have around it and unroll the saran wrap. And we're going to cut these into, what do you think? Little flowers. How cute is that? And they would be so cute on a charcuterie board, or even to put in a lunch for your kids.
Stop your tablecloths from blowing away. Grab some clothespins and clip the clothespins onto the tablecloth to hold the tablecloth into place. Grab some shower caps, and you can use these to cover the top of your food. Grab a cake carrier, open it up, and place your plates and your silverware, napkins, and more into your cake holder. This will now help you transport any of your paper products. Grab a foil pan from the store. You'll also need some charcoal, and you'll need a cookie rack. Place the charcoal into the foil pan, and then place the cookie rack on top, and you've made a portable grill.
Blow up a balloon, then grab some wood slices. Take 2 wood slices and glue the sides together using a low-temp glue gun. Let the discs bend slightly so they follow the curve of the balloon. To fill in, glue smaller-sized wood discs into these spaces. Once you have all the discs where you want them and the glue has set, pop the balloon. I styled my new wood slice bowl by laying some moss on a tray and nestling the wood slice bowl on top. Then I added a beautiful pink orchid for a stylish kitchen display.
The next time you're browsing the toy aisle at Dollar Tree, don't pass by these plastic wiffle balls. And I'm going to take just some scrap fabric that I had laying around. I'm going to start with a bead of hot glue on my plastic wiffle ball, letting it set, and then pulling the fabric nice and tight. I'm going to wrap it around the wiffle ball. Then I'm going to glue that end down, and I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again, just overlapping my fabric a little bit each time. I've placed mine here in this wooden dish with my other decorative balls, and it just adds that nice pop of color. Next time you're at Dollar Tree, grab one of these square clear plastic containers, a round garden dish, and some of these silver and white plates from the wedding aisle. And then I also had these wooden candle holders. I'm going to use a little bit of E6000 to secure them into place, and then I'm going to let this securely set. I'm also going to take the round garden dish, and I'm going to glue that with the E6000 on top of the candle holders. Once it's dry, I took this appliance epoxy spray paint and I gave it a good coat. Then I'm going to take my plastic plate and I'm going to glue it to the front using the E6000. And then I'm going to give the whole thing a spray with this gray chalk paint. And then I'm going to come in just with some gray acrylic paint. I'm going to give it some texture on the sides, as well as working in some black to give it a little bit of definition. Metallic spray paint, and I also sprayed the garden dish on the top, and then I came in with some white paint and I just dry brushed it on. I decided for the bottom part I wanted to add a little bit of a bright color, so I used this dune grass from Country Chic paint and I lightly patted over top. I next came in with this metallic paint. I did end up taking the plate off the front part because it was easier to work with. Then I took some Mod Podge and I printed off a vintage scale face and I Mod Podged that into the middle of the plate. Then I took this and glued it back onto the front part. What I'm left with here is an adorable vintage looking scale, and all with pieces from Dollar Tree.
Start to paint your pots and saucers with a matte finish paint or chalk paint. Take a paper napkin and separate the 2-ply layers. Draw a circle and cut it out with scissors. Take the saucer and brush the decoupage glue so the bottom and sides of the saucer are covered. Place the paper napkin circle and press down in the center and smooth the napkin out. Dip a small paintbrush in water and brush along the top of the saucer. Add a final layer of decoupage glue. Take a strong adhesive glue and place a ring of glue. Place the saucer on top of the bottom of the pot. You now have a beautiful clay pot candle holder.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, make sure you head to their frame section and grab some of these gold frames. I'm then going to come in with some wire cutters and I'm going to pull out the black tabs that keep the backing on. Then I'm going to take out the glass and I'm going to come with some E6000 and I'm going to glue the glass inside the frame. Then I'm going to come and take 8 of the frames and I'm going to glue 2 of them together. And then I'm going to clamp them together and I'm going to let this set overnight. I came back the next day, removed all my heavy objects that I placed on top, and then as well removed the clamps from all the frames. So I'm going to glue all the sides and then I'm going to just raise them up here and build a rectangular shape. So 2 frames on each end and then the 2 that are glued together for the sides. I'm going to let this set overnight again, making sure that the glue is really solid. And then I'm just going to come in and finish it up with a nice A-frame top with my remaining 4 frames. And now I have one of those gorgeous A-frame terrariums that you see at high-end decor stores that I made for as little as under $10 and the cost of some glue.
Quick trip to my local Dollarama. Separate the layers, cut the napkin so that you have enough to cover the body of the jar. Now I'm using some clear glue mixed with a tiny amount of water, paint it onto the side of the glass jar. Then lay down the paper nap and then using a piece of scrunched up plastic wrap, use that to pat down the napkin and eliminate any wrinkles that way. Draw around the lid because that will be the right size and cut out the piece of napkin, stick it to the bottom of the jar in the same way. Using the same process, cut out a circle for the top and a little strip for the edge and stick it in place. When it was dry, I decided to give it 2 coats of a gloss varnish. I have taken a battery-operated puck light and stuck it into the lid of the glass jar. And here are my finished chinoiserie jars. Don't they look great?
Saw some candles from Pottery Barn. I thought it'd be fun to try making them myself. I'm going to put a little glue into a small container and then add a bit of paint. Now that I have the glue tinted, I'm going to paint it all over the glass dish on the outside. I'm going to leave these for a few hours before moving on. Using some Mod Podge, I'm going to paint it around the dishes. I can sprinkle the white glitter all over it, and then when it dries, the glitter will stay in place. I grabbed these pillar candles from the dollar store, and I'm going to melt them down. I'm just going to use a couple of skewers to hold the wicks in place. I want to add some essential oil to give my candles a beautiful scent. It's time to fill the glass dishes. The final thing to do is to remove the skewers and then trim the wicks. How pretty are these Pottery Barn inspired candles? They even smell as good as they look.
Take some leftover wallpaper scraps and wrap your books simply by folding. You now have a beautiful new decorative dust cover for your book. Stack wallpaper covered books on top of an antique or vintage typewriter. Fill an entire shelf to create a color coordinated wall of books.
First, we're going to spray paint. I'm using Rust-Oleum Satin Heirloom White and Rust-Oleum Stone. We're going to take some painter's tape. You kind of want to rough tear one edge of it. We're going to put this along the bottom. I'm using a craft paint and I'm just using brushed gold. You kind of want to make it look like the paint is kind of tearing and you can see underneath it. All right, so here's the finished product and I absolutely love how they turned out.
Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy modern DIY storage and decor bowls for your home for less than $15.
The first step is just to make sure this is really clean. To start with, I want to use some gold leaf adhesive. I am just going to let this sit for about 20 minutes. Now we're going to get out the gold leaf sheets. Now you want to use a tweezer and a dry paintbrush with this. As I'm going along, I'm going to use the paintbrush and it's going to pull away any of the excess. And then we're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to add some paint, but we're going to paint the inside of this vase. And it has the look of a white ceramic vase with a beautiful antiqued kind of rustic gold finish at the top.
Have a cylinder vase from the Dollar Tree, this epoxy pen holder on Amazon. And I'm gonna basically just trace. All right, so now that I have hollowed out the center, I wanna make sure that the paint doesn't necessarily sink in to the foam. So to create a barrier and something that'll dry relatively quickly, Mod Podge or like Elmer's glue, we're going to use a Dixie Belle paint. These two foam boosters really have transformed into chic and modern decor.